Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Empowered to Live, the podcast where faith meets purpose and purpose fuels freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Rose Butler, and today we are in our special segment, Visionary Voices. Thank you all for joining us for this, our second installment. And today I have four wonderful guests. And as you know, we'll be talking about trauma, identity, and purpose, how trauma shapes our identity and transforms our purpose. And so we have been learning that, having these healing conversations that about what we've been through, but learning how to live with purpose because of it. And there are moments in life that shape us in ways that we don't always fully understand until much later. And sometimes it's through the words spoken over us. Sometimes it's through experiences that we never asked for. And you guys know my story. And sometimes through seasons that change us before we even realize it. And moments that shift how we see ourselves, and moments that leave us questioning, having questions that we don't always have the answer to, and moments that quietly redefine our identity. And I shared my story before about how I was this feisty, I'm a fight for you type girl, to the one who hid in the corners, who didn't want to speak just because of trauma, because it was easier to not be seen, because being seen meant danger. And so I learned how to be quiet, how to be silent, and how to hide myself. And my whole personality identity changed because of the things that happened to me. But I thank God for this healing journey that I've been on, and how He has brought me to this place, and to the space that I'm in right now. And how He birthed the Empowered to Live podcast out of my journey, also the Becoming Women's Network that we have, and our foundation, that reaches out to women. And especially here, now that I'm in Mexico, we've been working with some of the local women here, talking about topics of mental health, and dealing with health issues, and relationships, and figuring out how to live this life, and live it in a way that God has purpose for us. He called us with purpose, on purpose. And so sometimes those moments that redefine our identity, the pain, the disappointment, sometimes through survival, the things that we survive, shape us, because, we came through it, but we've been scarred. We've been wounded. And so sometimes we become guarded, and it changes who we are and how we function. And if we're not careful, we often begin to see ourselves through the lens of what happened to us versus of the lens of who God created us to be. And we begin to live out the what happened to us versus what I was created to be. And so they shape us. But healing doesn't always erase those experiences that we have. But what it is about is allowing God to do the work in us and redefine what those moments mean. And so today's conversation centers on identity, healing, and purpose through faith, guiding women through personal growth and spiritual renewal, not as separate things, but as a journey. So we are on this journey. So everything that we happen shaped us, and we are on this journey. And so you are becoming more resilient, more whole, more aligned with your purpose, because you are becoming matters more than what you've been through. And one of my favorite scriptures, Isaiah 61:3, that says that He'll give us beautiful ashes, joy for mourning, and He'll give us the spirit of gladness. He's going to replace all of those things. So, these are transactional, how God takes the broken things. Ashes means that our life been burnt down. And so what remains, God can turn it into something beautiful. And so when we surrender it to Him and allow Him to take those things, when we willingly hand it over to Him and allow Him to, He will transform the things that, that we felt like, burnt our life down, that broke us, that caused us to mourn. He wants to give us joy. He wants to replace that. He wants to take those ashes, and it's like coal, under pressure becomes diamonds. It becomes beautiful when we allow it to go through that transformation process. So as we go through this conversation today, I want to bring up my wonderful guests to our visionary voice. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. My first guest, and welcome to the stage, Dr. Deanna Morris.
Hi.
Hello. And then we have Ms. Carmela Thomas, soon to be Dr. Carmela Thomas. We have Ms. Latasha Corbin, and
Hello.
we also have Dr. Shanae Jeffries. And I have everyone, welcome, good evening, and welcome to the Empowered to Live podcast and our visionary voice segment. And so tell me about who you are. It doesn't matter who goes first. So let's tell me about who you are and how can people find you. If you have any upcoming projects that you're working on, that they may want to connect with you on, how can they do that?
I guess I'll go first. I am Dr. Deanna Morris. I'm located in Richmond, Virginia. Well, I am the overseer and apostle of the ministries here in Midlothian, Virginia. I also have a consulting firm, 3D Consulting Services, which offers leadership services and development program, as well as being a life coach, trauma and grief consultant. And I also service those that are dealing with mental health and offering mental health coaching. You can reach me on Facebook at 3D Consulting, also on Instagram at Dr. Deanna Morris. And I don't even remember what else. Oh, upcoming events. I have a 6-week session called Worth It for women to build up resilience, as well as help us move past that place of looking for everybody's approval and validation. And that will be going on in the entire month of June on every Tuesday. It is virtual. That's kind of who I am in a nutshell.
All right, thank you, Dr. Morris. I'm going with Carmela then, so I'm going to order that you guys, so I can see you.
Hi, I'm Carmela Thomas. Um, who am I? I am a woman who has been through a lot, but I am an overcomer. And being an overcomer, I have created a platform that there is life after loss. You are not defined by who you are. You are not defined by what they say. You can find me on Facebook, My Girls in RVA, Instagram, My Girls in RVA. But on my Facebook page, I have on my personal page, I am not who you say I am, nor what you see me do, or what you think I possess. I am who I am. And I feel that that is needed. I feel that we need to come to understand that I am God's daughter. And in being God's daughter, He has called me. He has appointed me. And then when he called me, I said yes, which meant that I am chosen. So I don't get to pick my assignments. Daddy does that for me. And Daddy and I have this relationship. You sure you want me to do this? Because you know. But I just thank God for understanding that because I know who I am, it gives other women to realize the realization. If I tell you my story, you're gonna be like, Miss Carmela, who you think you are? What are you doing? I've been there, done that. So I welcome conversations. I welcome because you do not look like what you've been through, and that's a part of the plan. Because until we open our mouth, his story is her story. And I'm in school right now for a doctoral candidate. And I'm like, I promise, Daddy, I don't want to see another school. I don't want to see another paper. I don't want to see anything. And he said, okay, keep telling me what you don't want to do, and I'm going to show you what you will do. So that's how we are. I just thank you for the opportunity, Andrea, and looking forward to sharing the conversations with you ladies.
You're welcome. Thank you. And Latasha, other Latasha.
Good evening, everyone. I am Latasha Corbin. I am a youth pastor along with my husband at New Canaan Worship Center and also an elder there as well. And I also work in the mental health field. I'm a qualified mental health professional. And I would say that with the ministry and also with mental health, it just comes together with helping to support one another and being understanding. And I am I'm glad to be here this evening with you ladies. Oh, I didn't add. Well, my Instagram is at Latasha0331.
I'm so glad to have you, Dr. Jeffries.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Dr. Shanae S. Jeffries. I am the host of the Given Name podcast, which correlates directly with my research. I am a sociologist and an identity scholar. And so, right now, my research focuses on names and specifically distinctively Black names and mapping those back through the channels of the Great Migration from the South and then eventually back to some of the dialects that we know of from Africa and particularly the Western Cape and things like that. Um, Thank you for having me first. It's a pleasure to be here. As I said, I'm a scholar, but I also do have like a practitioner side. And so I do identity working sessions. So if you have the following questions and you would like to answer them sociologically, like why do I keep ending up in the same patterns? Why does a season of my life feel misaligned? What is burnout? That's a huge one. And what actual identity conflict looks like. So there's a lot of things that I could talk about. If you want to discuss, feel free to reach out at awkward_PhD, or you can email me at awkward_PhD. I said email, but I meant DM. So sorry. And my website is drawkward.co. Thank you.
So, you're welcome. Thank you guys so much. I'm so glad that you guys are here, and that you'll be able to bring something of value to my audience. And so we are talking about identity. I actually was, I guess, on Dr. Jeffrey's podcast that airs in July, I think, right? And yes.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so I've been a guest on her show. It's talking about my name and, the meaning behind my name and the strength, even as we were talking about my name, that all the things that I've experienced through life, my name makes sense, even though before God made me, he knew before I was named that my name means warrior,
Mhm.
and one who gives strength. And so I was like, okay. And so that really spoke to me as to what I am about, what my ministry is all about, and all the things that I've experienced. And it just kind of like, wow, the light came on as we were talking about, the name and how important our identity is. And when we have been traumatized, by life, sometimes it changes, our identity of how we see ourselves, our perception of who we are. And so this is where our journey begins. So I want to start with our first question. How has your life experiences shaped how you see yourself? How has it shaped how you see yourself? Let's start with Dr. Shanae. You can go.
Okay. I was trying to get the mic light to match the mood setting. Um, how has one more
Your
time?
experiences shape how you see yourself or how you saw yourself.
Oh, I will say that I think I had an identity crisis after I finished my PhD. Like I wasn't sure who I was anymore because I had always been a student. I went straight through. So here I was like in my 30s, like corporate. Cool. Yeah. Never done it before, but
Mhm.
cool. And so I think that a lot of the work that I've done on myself and like the talks that I've had with God, even in the last 2 years recently, have showed me that I'm a conqueror of these experiences, that I've always had the fight. I've always had it. and the fight has always been fixed. So it's literally just being in your body and saying, God, show off. Like, do what you love to do, and I will give you all the praise, because what else can I do? So I think that's how, like, that is how I look at some of these experiences now. So whenever something comes, I'm just kind of like, God, you sent this here for a reason, so let's show out. Like, let's do it. Yeah.
Mhm. Dr. Deanna or Carmela? Tasha, who wants to go next? How has
Um,
your experience shaped how you see yourself or how you saw yourself, like in the past or now?
I'll say that my experience has been through sickness and grief, loss, trauma, the trauma of loss and the trauma of medical illness. And I think in the beginning, because I started the medical things when I was younger, I think in the beginning I had this mindset of every time I overcame something, this is another chapter of my story. So I kept functioning on God, you got me here. So this is another chapter of my story. And as I got older, after one situation after another situation of traumatic health issues, I think it shifted me in a place where I think I was just in survival mode for a long time, just trying to what's going to happen next. When is the next shoe going to drop, kind of thing. And in the process of the medical things, I was suffering losses, loss of family members. At one point, I lost my spouse. So I think I hit that moment after I lost my spouse. I had by that time I had two heart attacks, triple bypass, a cornea transplant, a bone marrow transplant, all this stuff. And by the time I had started to deal with grief of losing brothers and my dad and my spouse, I found myself in this place where I was like, God, I don't want to be the image of what people expect me to be. So I started focusing on this. I am going to be the new mold of what people think a weeping widow should look like. I'm not a weeping widow, so I'm not going to be that, because it doesn't align with an overcomer. God said we were overcomers. So none of those things that people projected. I heard you say this in the beginning about words and the things that I would hear people say. I had to openly say, no, that's not my story. But you can openly say it, but you don't believe it. So it took me a minute to where I am now is I reject the words that don't align with who God says I am. And sometimes that's hard,
It is.
but I constantly live that out. So that's what the trauma and all of that, it put me in a place that I had to learn how to define myself by what God said and not what my situation said and not what people said to me. Because even in their good, trying to be good, the stuff, oh, you devastated. No, I'm not that stuff. Mm-mm. So I think that it has taught me how to live like God said I'm supposed to live and be that person and be consciously aware of that.
Yeah, and our words do take them on, and I've shared on this podcast, and I shared a lot. And, when I was in the military, when I was in basic, our drill sergeant used to say, no one can ride your back unless it's bent. In the same way, when we accept the words that people give us and they say to us, or they tell us who we are, or how we should feel, or how we should conduct ourselves in that certain season, we can take that on and we can say, what, you're right. I should be devastated. I should be the weeping widow. I should be this, I'm sick, so therefore I should behave this way, and I shared on here, I'm going through situation when I need to have spinal surgery in the next month or so, or so I'm going to fully lose the function of my leg. And so I'm just like, so walking through that event to still be grateful and to say, okay, God, practice gratitude even in the midst of and picking up, like the Hebrew boys, even if you don't deliver me, I know that you're well able to. And I think when we, it takes time and it takes practice to get there, because somebody may not be in that space where, where they have come to this point in their journey and they're still carrying the weight of the words and the wounds on their back. And so how do we walk through that space? And so Camilla, you, how has your life experience shaped how you saw yourself or how you currently see yourself?
All of that. How I saw myself, how I see myself, what they said about me, all of that, all of that. It was until I turned 50 years old that I had to go to Jamaica and was supposed to have a party. And my best friends from college, for whatever reason, didn't show up. So
Mhm.
I'm here in Jamaica, not knowing nobody. What you gonna do? I'm gonna enjoy me. I'm going to like me.
Mm.
I'm going to love on me. I pride myself in the fact that I am a daddy's girl. My girls in RVA started as a social group that we're gonna come to, and Daddy said, "Yeah, that's what you thought." But my girls is my girls. I need you to be who I have called you to be. So I have come and evolved in a place that life after loss, it comes. Life is lifing. Life is going to bring you ups, life is going to bring you down. But you said in your word, be steadfast, unmovable. Okay, what that looks like, what that looks like. Okay, so you said read the word of God to study yourself to, okay, what does that look like? So I had to basically go through a healing journey. And when I say go through, I had to say yes. I had those who know me, I have grandchildren and they came into this world at 26 and 24. So, you go to doctors and the doctor saying, I'm gonna be a doctor. So I know we practicing. So y'all don't we don't know it all, but we know what we know and we work and we find and we study and we do what we do and we stand in the truth of what we know. My children are the seed of righteousness. So, God, you're going to have to show yourself strong. Well, my grandchildren are 3 and 4, and the doctor said they would. So, life after loss, I had to continue to show up. I had to continue to say yes, even on the front lines. I'm in the process of, even right now, um, being transitioned from 16 years of being in a field to now coming to a point where we no longer need you because of the government and what, who does that? Okay, Dr. Shanae, yeah, God, what you gonna do with this? I'm your spokesman. I am who you have said that I am supposed to be. So how is this going to evolve itself? How is this going to manifest itself? How is this going to come about? So I show up, and in me showing up, guess what? What do you have to say? What are you going to say to all of this stuff that I am experiencing, I am going? So I'm evolving. I know that in where I am, that's why I say I am not who you say I am. You know what? I've come to a place last year where, Daddy, I don't even know who I am. So you're going to have to tell me who I am. You're going to have, because I know what I've been through. They know what I've been through. And they want to say, this is who I am. And no, I have to sit in what I know. So anybody know me, let me see what that word mean. Let me see what that word mean, because you're speaking over me. And in speaking over me, I don't receive that. Let me tell you my truth. Let me tell you what it is that I'm going through. So my shaping is being reshaped every day. Life after loss. Okay, Daddy, we going through this right now. Let's see how you gonna do this. You told me that I was more than a conqueror. You told me that I was your girl and I can ask, and I've seen you open doors. I've seen you make ways. I've seen you do what you do. Even in the hurt, you said my weakness I made strong. So what we doing? I don't know. So I think for me, in answering that, what shaped my faith in knowing who you said, a greater commandment I'm going to give you, to love God. Well, in order for me to love God, I have to get to know myself, and I have to know myself so I can do what needs to be done. And guess what? It's evolving. So I would say that's how I am being shaped. I'm being shaped in his image. The pain that we go through is doing something to us. The pain that we're going through is actually shifting us. Dr. Phil says, how you like that? Well, if you don't like it, you're going to do something about it, not because someone else is telling you to do it. You don't like where you are. So I feel for me, I get to navigate my own way. Yes, my faith, those who I believe God has allowed me to come into a community, a space, they're helping me become who God has ultimately already designed for me to be. So, good days, bad days, it's still all in His will. And I'm going to continue to Daddy, what you doing with this? What you're saying about this? I see it. I know they see it. I know that Daddy, you why you let me see what I see? Because you know me. And he said, yeah, I need you because guess what? You have the answer to fix what that needs to be. So thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's those experiences, especially, you're talking about at 50 to recognize that you have to love yourself,
Mm-hmm.
that experience and that moment in time. And, for some people, it may have happened, at a younger point in their life where, they felt that letdown, that disappointment. And, they didn't know how, they don't have that foundation of faith to say, okay, I'm going to love on myself. We sit with the betrayal and we say, okay, I've been betrayed, and that's where we stay.
Mm-hmm.
And so, how a lot of times it shifts us, especially when we don't have that foundation, into saying, you know, nobody loves me. This is supposed to be my best friend, and you don't show up for me. You don't show up in that space, and so we let disappointment, and we can say, I no longer trust. Because people don't show up for me. And so, how do we navigate that space of saying, hey, um, it's not, that was a season, that was an event, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not my whole story. It's a line in a chapter in my book, but a lot of times people see the line and the line becomes the entire story. And we allow a single line, a single event to transform who we are, and we say, I am unloved. I am not enough. Nobody cares about me. And then we internalize that, and then it transforms our entire life because we shift ourselves into that space and we take ownership. Again, we get to that place where, we bend our back and we put on that load of saying, nobody cares. And so, therefore, since no one cares, why should I care
Yep.
about myself, about other people, about this, about that? And so it can transform our whole life and shape how we see ourselves. And I thank God for transformation because each of you have shared that through Christ you became new. He gave you a new identity. He gave you a new name. He changed the way, he was allowed to block out the noise of the people who wanted to speak negativity into us. You know, uh, Dr. Shanae, she's got a whole program on how identity, we talk about our names and how we are called and what we answer to. And so what do we answer is our identity. How do we answer to our name? How do we answer to the calling? How do we answer to the things that happen to us and how they move in our lives and how they again shape all of who we are and who we are becoming in that moment? And so once we identify that, yes, they shifted our personality, they shifted our identity. We had to um, realign ourselves because we were out of alignment because of what happened, and now we are in that space of healing. you know
Mm-hmm.
and so now we are on this healing space. We know that he heals the brokenhearted. He wants to bring about healing to us, and we know that healing is not always linear. Sometimes healing looks like the roller coaster. We're up and down, we're all over the place. We're good one moment. I have a friend that's walking through grief, and
Yep. Yep.
and so she was just like, sometimes I have a good day, and then other days she's like, I just bawled my eyes out. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, and I said, and that's okay. And she goes, you think I would be better by now? And I'm like, no, 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 there's no timetable on grief. There's no timetable on how we are transformed, how we are made new. It's a journey. And I think sometimes we think that healing is a destination and healing is a journey
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
really fully finish until until we see Christ. And for those in my audience who don't know Christ, um, you need to get to know Him because He is the one that binds up the brokenhearted. He heals them and He sets you free. He is the one that sets you free, and so we have to allow Him into that space of healing and setting us free, and allowing us to walk into that space. And so, how do you navigate the tension between who you were and who you are becoming? Because again, we are on a journey.
I would say one of the things that I've done, I can't speak for everybody, but what has been useful to me is being honest with myself about things that I have taken on that did not belong to me. And while you're in the middle of, because the biggest part is that transition piece. That transition piece is like you're losing a part of yourself and getting to know you at the same time. So, what I have learned in that is to give yourself grace. I had to give myself a lot of grace because there were things that I have done, behaviors and patterns that I had saw other people do in grief stages as well as in sickness, and even in my family. Because in our families and people just in our circle, period, we see behaviors and patterns and we take them on because that's what we've saw other people do. And I had to learn that if it don't fit me, don't wear it. And a lot of times I wore things because that was what was expected. And that's what I saw other people do. And the hardest part in that was recognizing and telling myself that it was okay that I didn't fit in and what the norm should be in these situations. Because what we do is we hide our emotions, hide our feelings, because we don't want to offend somebody else. And we're the ones that's traumatized. We're the ones that's having the issues, but we're hiding ourselves trying to protect somebody else's because this is the way it's supposed to look. And a lot of times it doesn't look like that. I'll use this for an example. During the time that I lost my spouse, we were pastoring a church together. So I had to still show up and be the leader. But at the same time of being the leader, I was grieving. And I had to learn how to say, I'm not okay. And, as leaders governing over people, you got to always be on your P's and Q's. And when I realized it's okay to say, listen, y'all agree, because, what we do is we take care of everybody else. And I had to tell myself, okay, it's good to take care of them, but I got to stop and take care of me and give me the grace that I need as well. So during that transition, moving out of the traumatic spaces and the hurt and the pain and moving into something else, you got to give yourself the grace in between that even when it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else.
Yeah, and I think
So I was going to say, I love what you said, Dr. Morris, because for me, I had to let go.
Yeah.
I had to let it go. I had to, you know, my relationship with God, and it's like I said, it's my faith. Daddy, what they doing? What they saying?
Yeah.
They don't know me. To know me is to love me. So if you don't know me, you can't love me. So Daddy, what is it? I have to let it go because Daddy said people gonna be people. People gonna do what they know to do, and then when they don't know what to do, what do? They make up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to come to the point to understand that who you are is not who you are. It's not what they say. Yes, yes. We, like you said, we want to wear that stuff. We want to wear, like, me losing my dad in July of last year. I'm a daddy's girl. So I really want to show up. I really want to go into a corner and cry and just stay there and just, actually go on an island, be like John, be on
Mhm.
John, go to Isle of Patmos and just stay there, But Daddy said, not so. Not so, because in the midst of that, Carmela, life after loss, I now know that I am Daddy's girl. I am my heavenly Father's girl. So I had to let it go. I had to let it every day. You know how they say when you pray and you ask God to show you. Well, Daddy, you show me. So what is my part in this? What do you want me to
Mhm.
do with it? And then guess what? I gotta let it go. Because we will be carrying so much, so many weights, and if I was to tell you a litany of what I did today, like Carmela, what you doing? I'm sitting here in the midst of doing what I'm doing, but I'm having this conversation being pulled in, and the distractions all. Let it go. Let it go. And I feel that the things that we go through when we do come into the room and we tell where we are, someone's going to honor that. Someone's going to say, yeah, I do have to let it go. Yeah, grace. Like you said, a leader. I'm a leader. I'm a leader in my local assembly, and I am there. I have the office of a prophet. So Carmela going through, but why are you happy? Why are you smiling? Because I know who's carrying me. I know who's doing what needs to be done on my behalf. No, I'm not faking it to make it. No, I'm going to sit in this right now. If you call me and I don't answer, I don't want you to think I'm not answering because I'm bawling and I'm crying, but I need to have that space. I need to have that room to do what it is that I get to tell you what it is that I need to do. And when you don't honor that, let it go.
Mhm.
Natasha, how about you? She's having camera issues, guys.
Yes,
Camera went out.
it
And
just
so
went bad.
how have you navigated the tension between who you were and who you're becoming?
For me as well, like I heard the word grace. I had to give myself grace and understand that healing is a process. Um, still still healing, but being able to work on unlearning the things that had put me in a situation where easily I get triggered by certain behaviors or certain um, things that people may say. And it's just in realizing that it's just on being on a journey of growing, and this journey of healing, and knowing that it doesn't happen overnight, and it's just a
Mhm.
continued process, and it even helps draw me closer to God, um, because I know that He's the true healer. So, like, even trying to find healing in other things, like talking to other people and seeking other things, knowing that I couldn't find it there. So, even in my experiences, they have all drawn me closer to God, and they also help me to be in a position where I can help other people and be more understanding with different situations.
Yeah, but it's helpful when we've experienced things that we can help someone else,
Mhm.
because we can see ourselves in them. You know, Dr. Shanae, how about you? How have you navigated the tension between who you were and who you are becoming?
I actually had this conversation with one of my mentors today, and she was telling me basically echoing, like, be grateful for the you that got you through your dissertation. Be grateful for the you that got you through your early 30s. Be grateful, for those previous versions because they did what they could. But also, you're wiser now and you're smarter now, and you've actually dealt from the experience that made you to become. And so I think of course, like has been echoed, you give yourself grace, but I also can see glimpses of the woman that I've becoming.
Mhm.
And that becomes motivational. That becomes knowing that I cried a little bit less today, or I thought a little bit less about that today. It's a win. And so it gives you a little more motivation that one day, even if it's a year from now, I might not cry the whole day. I may be able to get up out of bed. So yeah, you get there, you work there.
Mhm.
That's good.
Yes.
It's very true that we give ourselves grace and I had posted this a while back on social media. I saw I heard this quote that basically said that, you know, forgive yourself for what your past self did, because your
Mhm.
future self learned basically to be stronger because of it.
Mhm.
Because if you had not gone through what you went through, you would never be who you are today.
Yeah.
And the things that we have endured, the things that we've gone through, has shaped our identity. Yes, Sherry, give ourselves grace. And it's important for us to do that, to give ourselves grace. We give grace to everybody else.
Mhm.
Yes.
But
Hmm.
a lot of times we fail to give ourselves grace. We were like, oh, it's okay. The things that you went through, girl, I don't know how you did it. You did, but then we look at ourselves and it's like, you are a failure. You
Mhm.
did this. Your life
Yeah.
was this. You did that. How can you be? And what happened to the grace? What happened to the encouragement and the motivation we give to somebody else? But we don't give it to ourselves. We don't look in the mirror and say, you know what? You survived.
Mhm.
You are here today. You are strong. You are mighty. You are powerful. You are the best. And you deserve it. You deserve to be here. And I shared about one of the events we had with the program that I developed for here in Mexico is called Her Table, and it stands for Health Empowerment and Restoration, and because everyone deserves a seat at a table.
Mhm.
And so we were talking about mental health, anxiety, and different things. And we think about cultural. Here we live in the Yucatan, and so the Yucatecans, they're very proud people, but they also are very resilient. But they've been marked by so much. There are culturally they're very different than parts of Mexico, and they have clung to their heritage. And
Mhm.
so we had this event again about 2 weeks ago, and they talking about mental health. And so the question that I asked about negative self-talk: what are some of the things that you say to yourself that you would not say to a friend? Was
Whew.
the question.
Mhm.
Whew.
What do we say to ourselves that we would never ever say to a friend? And one of the ladies, one of the first one that spoke up, she was saying that I would tell myself that I am ugly, that I am worthless, and
Mhm.
that I don't deserve to be here. Is
Mhm.
what she said. She would tell herself. She said it got so bad that her husband was like, "You need to get some help," because the negative self-talk that she was telling herself was so bad, and she's receiving care now, that she'd even brought herself into that place of depression and was kind of, I'm not a therapist. So I didn't want to dig into, like where did this voice come from, and I did touch on a little bit about the voices that
Mhm.
tell us these things
Mhm.
that we internalize and then we repeat. But the question was, what are we telling ourselves? What do you say to yourself when you look in that mirror sometimes, when you look at your body and you were like, oh my God, you are so fat, you are so this, look at
Mhm.
your hair, look at you this, look at you that, you don't look good in this, that. Well, we would never do that to a friend. We would see somebody and we're like, girl, are you wearing that dress?
Mhm.
Um, we look at ourselves and we're like, oh my God.
And everything's wrong. Yeah.
I don't like my hair, I don't like my nose, I don't like my eyes, I don't like this, I don't like
Mhm.
that. You're not enough, you're no good, you're this, you're that, you failed, you did, and we say all this stuff. And it's like, where do these words come from? And
Mhm.
why do we have them so much on the inside of us that we just we spew them out? And even had one lady said that she didn't even realize that she had said to herself that she was nothing until her grandson said to her on a couple occasions, Grandma, you know that you are nothing? You are worthless.
Mhm.
And I think she said he was 4. And we were talking out, and I was like, and she goes, I don't remember saying it out loud.
Mm.
And so because he said it to me, then I was like, because I knew that's what I told myself when he said it, I came into agreement because that's how I felt about myself. And so, her identity, what was it shaped by? Who spoke to her? And so we were talking about some of these things about that's not who you are. Somebody may have said that to you in generational, cultural, whatever, and that you have taken on the inside of you. But now, how can we release it? And so I had them do this exercise when they wrote down the words they said to themselves, tear it into little pieces, and then throw it away. And we had them all do it together. And then and the collective, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
And some people just started to cry. And so when we hear these words, and that's that tension between who they were, who they know they are not, and sometimes they collide, and they colliding us, and and they don't happen all the time. We can say, I know that I'm a child of God, I know
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
but I'm a girl, I know all of this stuff. But then in our quiet moments, sometimes in our thoughts, we hear these words. And so how do we go about reclaiming fully our identity, and what would that look like for you? Let's start with Dr. Shanae, since you went last. I go with you first.
How would I go about reclaiming my identity and
What would that look like for you?
woo, okay. I'll say my personal story for reclaiming my identity. I think that God let me sit in my stupor until I felt it, until I knew that I had no other choice but to give up. Sorry, but to get up and like give that up to Him. Um, and so I think the woman, the woman that I see myself becoming, um, I think that I'm sorry, I think I forgot the question. One more time.
So what do reclaiming your identity look like, and what would it look like for you? What does it look like to reclaim your identity?
I see. I had to remember who I am. And so there's a couple things that my pastor says that I feel like are really good. And one of them is the God you know is the God that you get. And so, as much as I can ask for God and quote the scriptures, that's how much I can use, my biblical knowledge to talk to God and pray and things like that, according to the scripture. So, I had to get back to God. That was a bigger evolution like in my entire life. So like I wake up and I read my devotion every morning. Well, okay, what else are you doing after that? Well, nothing. I wake up and do it every morning. So what's the problem? So it was that evolving into more like God and I are doing this in tandem. And so I don't know the way. So I've got to walk and follow God, and I think through that I begin to see those pieces of myself, and I begin to start reclaiming that, oh yeah, I used to love to do this, or oh, I think it's going to be a great day today, and not just, oh my god, another one. Like it's going to be an amazing day, we're going to get out of bed, we're going to do this and that, and it's not an easy thing. And by no means is it a quick process, or was it for
Mhm.
me. But I think that getting to, again, just those, it's great to make celebrations about everything. I think every day deserves a celebration. Even if you get a parking spot, let's turn up the music. So I think, those little wins that you get, celebrating them, and then realizing that you're actually enjoying a party that you're having for yourself, and it's no longer a pity party, it's a celebration.
Mhm.
Yes. Yes, I'm going to celebrate everything.
Mhm.
Celebrate everything. Yeah, I do that too. But I'm like, look at God. I gotta
Yes,
close.
right up at the front.
I'm like, look at God. You know, look at God. It's a little thing. And I think for big events to celebrate and not the small things. Like you said, I shared my daughter turned into this app called Finch, and it's goals that if every day you have goals, you can set them for yourself or whatever. And and they have ones that they start off with, and one of the goals was like, get out of bed, wash your face,
Mhm.
brush your teeth. And like, that's a given. And then I had this, and then it kind of struck me, there are people who struggle to get out of bed.
Mhm.
There are
Yeah.
people who struggle to wash their face and brush their, and it's a win. They have, get dressed today. And I'm like, and so it this bore me, and I was like, you know what? That is a win, because somebody went to bed and couldn't get up this morning.
Yeah.
And so getting out of bed is a win. The fact that you moved today is a win. You got that, you made yourself breakfast and you didn't burn the house down. That's a win. And so to look at those moments, and that's kind of reclaiming who we are. I like what you said. I remember when I came out of um, my marriage, which was very abusive, and it was just like he basically changed everything about who I was, the way I dressed, the way I wore my hair, the way everything. And so, well, Like, what's your favorite? I don't know what my favorite color is. Well, what do you know? Like, what's your style? I have no idea. I knew what my style was before, but I had at that point I had no idea. And so to reclaim that portion of me where I was like, this is what I like, bright colors. And so here I am now, my
Mhm.
closet is full of bright colors and colorful things, and they have flowers and big prints. And my kids are like, don't you own solid colors? I do have some solid colors, but they're bright solid colors. And I love prints and bold colors now. And it's kind of that part of reclaiming who I was, but it took me a while to get to that space of reclaiming my identity and reclaiming, who I knew that I was, reclaiming my voice, being able to speak and say, I don't like that. No,
Yeah,
I don't want to do
yeah.
that. Where do you want to go? I want to go here, and you don't tell me where I'm going to go and what I'm going to eat. This is what I want to eat. This is what I'm going to do. And sometimes that is that was a small win and a small victory, but it was a major victory that transformed who I was and made me who I am today. So I was a lot of reclaiming of my identity. And so I'm going to go to Latasha. Like, what does that healing, reclaiming your identity look like for you? And what would it look like for you to fully reclaim your identity?
I would say for me, it's still a process trying to see how God sees me. Um, and just letting go, like we were just talking about the negative self-talk, and not just realizing how much I may do that throughout the day. Like when I sit and think about it, and the field that I work in, I'm supporting people and helping them to replace the negative self-talk with positive self-talk, and it's easier for me to do it with them. But then when it comes to myself, it's more of a challenge. Just thinking about sometimes thinking I should be further along than where I am. I should be in a different place, and
Mhm.
just beating up on yourself for that sometimes. But I would say for me, it's still a process. Just trying to get to the place of seeing myself how God sees me.
Yeah, so that's and like I said, yeah, it's we're so good at doing that, right?
Mhm,
We have great
mhm.
friends, great people. We can encourage and motivate and tell people, all the good things. And when someone says, "Well, I'm not as far along as I am," but
Yeah.
but you came further than you were yesterday.
Hmm.
And we said to ourselves, "You need," And there's this meme there's reels, and there was one that it just stuck with me all the time, where he was just like, you know this happened to your friend, would you say this? And he was just like, no, you're doing so good, this and this. And then how about you? And he was like, no, I'm a failure and I don't deserve to live. And I was like, and he was like, no, 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 you say you are doing good. And he was like, no, I failed and I am a horrible person. He was like, no, no, that's not what you say to yourself. And so we do that. And we need those people who are saying no to us, who say, no, don't say that to
Hmm.
yourself. Give yourself a compliment. That's one of the things I have on his thing too. Give yourself a compliment.
Hmm.
This journey is not that long what you're experiencing. Again, it's all about that reclaiming. How about you, Carmela? What did reclaiming your identity look like, or what would it look like to reclaim your identity?
Trust in the Lord with all my might and lean not to my own understanding, but in all my ways. Daddy, look, what we doing right now? Where we going right now? How are we supposed to navigate this? You allowing me to see that, what I'm supposed to do. So reclaiming who I am is actually going back to the manufacturer. You created me. You told me that before I was in my mother's womb. Okay, what did that look like? Because all this stuff that I got going on ain't just show up. This happened back there. So we need to now come to a place to sit with me. And I look at some of the things that I have done in, you know, having symposium. I am who I say I am. I am enough. We have to create rooms. We got to create platforms that we give ourselves permission
Mhm.
to do what it is that we want. How I see myself, Daddy, you got to show me that. And when we ask Him to show us, He will show us. You know, we have these dreams and like, oh my goodness, you say I'm going to do that. No, I'm not going to show you the details, because if I show you the end result, you're going to now come back and say, not so. So I understand that in reclaiming who I am, I have to sit with the one who made me. I don't want to have a form of anything. I'm going to be or I'm not going to be. And understanding that, I recognize that I am she. She is me. I can look at my life and I can say, hey, I see the beginning, I see the end, I see the middle. I give myself, like Dr. Morris said, that grace, that grace. Where am I in my quest to become? I gotta meet with a Dr. Shanae. You hit my name is Carmela. Look, what does that say? What work to help me understand, unpack all this stuff? Because yeah, I know that when I look at Google, which is my other best friend, it's God's garden, but it's more to my name than that. So we have to understand that we have to allow ourselves permission. I learn more through the things that I suffer. I learn more because guess what? At least I told my mom the other day, the one thing that I said I wanted to do when I was in my 20s, I wanted to bungee jump. I wanted to jump out of a plane. Now that I'm 58, I don't think I need to do that. I don't think I need to do that now. And she was like, why? Is that the fear? No, it ain't no fear. Look, that's wisdom. That's wisdom. So I think if I give myself permission, I give myself permission to say, yes, I'm going to do that. No, I don't want to do that. I changed my mind. I don't want to do that. And no one, oh, you scared? Okay, yeah, I'm scared. You can call me whatever you want to call me. If I'm going to do what needs to be done. But I got to give myself permission to be seen. I got to give myself permission to be heard. Because if I don't like me, how am I going to expect you to like me?
That's good.
So I think we have to come to that place in reclaiming something. We have been called, we have been selected. So why don't we just go back to where we have been called, or the one who called us, to get the information that we need to reclaim what we were destined in? Because that's what it said too. And going back, not that I try, anybody that know me, I don't try to be deep. I really don't. I just know what I know and I say what I know. And guess what? We take it. But I love to have fun. I love little people. I love little people because these little people show you that we can play and be mad. But guess what? When it's all said and done, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come together. And I feel that we have to really give ourselves permission to reclaim. And then again, if you don't feel you need to reclaim, you got permission not to do that either. So I think it's at a place right now, we have to be free. And we have to not only be free, but we have to free ourselves.
Yes. Giving ourselves permission is important because a lot of times, you know, we wait for somebody else to say who we are becoming instead of giving ourselves permission to say, you know what, I will change. I will get back to what I know. I will be vocal. I will wear my bright colors. I will, I wear polka dots and stripes and do whatever, like you said, little people are so free. They put things on, and I would look at my kids. My daughter would dress herself sometimes, and I was like, okay, you know what? If you're happy with what you got on, I'm happy for you. And sometimes we have to be in that place where, you know what? I'm happy with what I have on right now, and I'm okay with that, and then go from there and not be stuck. Dr. Morris, Dr. Deanna, how about you? What would reclaiming your identity look like?
Well, I'm still doing it, but thus far, one of the things that I had to learn how to do was encourage myself, minister to myself,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes, and not just that, but give my own self the words that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you can have a lot of people around you and they have a lot to say, but if you don't come in agreement with what they're saying, because somebody can tell you great. I had people saying, "Oh, you just everything is good. God is so pleased with you, and you just." And if I don't feel that way, it doesn't make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn how to encourage myself and how to minister to myself where I was. Because you can tell me I'm great, but if I don't feel that way, I got to get to the place that I feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the words that I need to hear. I know what I need to be reminded of that God said to me, not just what you telling me. Remember when God told I might remember, but I don't feel that way today.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one thing that I was just determined that I was going to work on what I needed to hear for myself. The other thing, even now that it's helping me become even more, is I took myself, and I got this saying, everybody laugh about it. God just dealt with me. My tags on my car say new mode. My slogan is new mode. I even changed the spelling of new. I didn't make it N-E-W. I made it N-U-M-O-U. I mean M-O-L-D. New mold is everywhere because I don't want to fit in the mold of what it's supposed to look like. I tell people I serve God. I am an apostle, but I don't look like the typical apostle. I don't act like the typical apostle. I am a business owner, but just like I know how to be a business owner in the corporate world, in the corporate arena, I also know how to go and play with my niece and my nephew, roll around in the grass. And I had to get out of those patterns of everybody's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to really develop and transition into who God is calling you to be and become, you have to know who you are. And so there's sides of me that are absolutely silly, then there's serious sides of me, but it still makes up the total package of who I am. And I'm not ashamed of any of it. Because one of the things that happens to us, we feel like we have to show this side to this group of people. And I'll even say, when I transitioned out of 4 walls of ministry into marketplace ministry, it was a great struggle for me because I felt like I had to act like this at church and around the church arena. Then when I walked over into a marketplace arena, I had to be this other person. And I had to learn how to merge that together and just be Deanna. And it worked. And so in becoming, the biggest thing you have to do is embrace every part of you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every single part that God created. If that's that silly side, if that's that serious side, you have to be the totality of who you are. Because if you don't show up like that, people cannot really embrace you. You have to put on an image. You have to put on a mask in this place and be this. And I'm going to tell you something, that is tiring.
Mm-hmm.
It carries a lot of weight. You don't know who you are from day to day. And when you pick up the phone, hey, this Deanna, this Dr. Morris. No, I'm the same person. My mama named me Deanna. Well, she really named me Dina, but that's a whole nother story. But anyway, I just learned how to show up as myself. And that's what helps you to become. I don't have to be anybody you expect me to be. And I had to learn how to teach that to myself, minister that to myself. And even in doing that, one of the things that I used to do, and I still fight. You know how you go in a room, and if y'all with me, I know, if you go in a room and you did all of these things, and at the end of the night, I would come home and get in the bed to go to sleep and play the day over. I should have did this. I should have said that. I wonder what they thought about this. I wonder what they thought about that. And I had to stop doing that. It's over. Whatever it is, it is. In the totality of it, when I walked in, was I Deanna? When I walked out, was I Deanna? Absolutely. Whether they appreciated it, didn't understand it. If they didn't understand, I hope you ask me tomorrow. If not, we just gonna keep moving. So I think the bigger thing for me was just embracing the totality of who God made me to be. It didn't have to be the serious preacher. It could also be the silly aunt.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's what has been helping me, and it continues to help me, because I think we just always becoming. We don't ever just get there. We're every day becoming, because new situations arrive every day. So that's my 2 cents.
It was a good 2 cents. Because we do put on the mask, and people can't get to know us. And like you said, it's exhausting it's almost like you got a split personality or multi-personality disorder because
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to be so many different things that you lose who you are. And I did a series on identity. It was last year or year before, about the expectations of others can also shape our identity. So it's not even sometimes what happened to us, or the disappointments, the hurts, or all those different things. Sometimes the expectations of people, and they expect you to be a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so then we become so split and divided that we lose who we are, because we have to be the saved one over here. And then, they want you to be the life of the party over here. They want you to be the fun person. And they want you to, you are the strong one. You are the this one, you
Yes.
are the that one. And then you're like, well, who I am the one, well, who am I? Because I'm split, yeah, you can be a wife, mother, daughter, all the different things. Those are roles. But then when people want your identity to be a certain thing, we
Mm-hmm.
tend to lose that, and we have to reclaim those parts of us that we scatter to the winds to try to fit in to the expectations of others. And so, we have to, our purpose is centered on who we are, who we were created to be, and who, for whatever reason, we may have got out of alignment. But now that we are, even the misalignment of our lives can shape our purpose. I call those detours. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we take detours, and then we get back on. And sometimes life takes us in places that because of not our own choosing, we can end up in places that detour us. And then we get back on the road to continue our journey. But the lesson we learn in the detour is part of our purpose. So we're going to talk about, so what role, and many of you talked about this, about the faith, the faith in God that has shaped in your journey. Um, and so in what ways has your story influenced the purpose you're now walking? So all the things that you've experienced in life, all the ups, the downs, the disappointments, the hurts, the this, the that, whatever, the health challenges, the loss, all of these things, they all shape us. And I shared the foundation of the Becoming Women's Network, which is the umbrella of all of that I do, was by a letter that I received from a friend, uh, who wrote that basically said, when you go through all of these experiences, then once you have come through the end, it's for to motivate and to help other people. Paraphrasing the scripture, it's First Corinthians 10:4, 3 and 4. And so it's basically, how do we take the lessons that we learn, the comfort that we receive, comfort others with the comfort we ourselves have received. And so, how has your story, the things you endured, influenced what you now walk in, your purpose? I'm going to start with Dr. Deanna, and then
Ooh, Lord. Oh my God. Um,
how.
um, I didn't realize I started coaching before it was a popular thing, and I did not know that that's what it was called,
Mhm.
because I dealt with sickness at a young age, and so when people got sick, my thoughts was, if I survive, you can survive. So that's what I talked about all the time. Whatever, it didn't matter how old they were, none of that. And I started doing that, and it went from that to like really motivating people. um like you said, I think somebody said it earlier about, you've been through something and you feel like it's the end, but you got up another day. And
Mhm.
I would walk around saying, well, you got another day, I mean, even in high school, you got another day, you still here, because all I knew was faith. When I laid in the hospital beds and couldn't get up, couldn't move, all I knew was, I used to hear my grandma say this song a long, long time ago. If I couldn't do nothing, if I couldn't say a word, I would wave my hand. So when I was a little girl in the hospital, I couldn't say anything. So I would, like, wiggle my fingers and all this stuff, because that's what I knew. And so over the years, it just kept growing, that I found myself always motivating people. And then I started to go through loss and the trauma from loss. And I really was just trying to help myself learn about trauma for myself. And in trying to do that, I just started studying, taking classes for myself. And the more I learned, the more I shared. And then my brother, one of my brothers that passed away, and my late husband had this conversation with me. I had wrote a couple of books, and they said, your books are good, but there's a book that you're going to write that has to do nothing with church, nothing to do with um, women and leadership. It's going to be about self-help, helping people. And I'm like, I don't know what that's going to look like. Not knowing that after my husband passed, my brother had already passed, I wound up writing a book on grief. And it was just my process of how I was going through the grief of those losses, because it was like a lot of losses. I lost 2 brothers, my dad, my husband, a bunch of friends, my pastor, like in I think it was like a 5-year period. So I was just going through the process of things that I was doing to help myself. And I was taking notes, writing notes to myself and how I was getting it. And I started working on the book. I just was determined I was going to write this book about 5 steps or something about grief. And then I wanted to put at the end about not being a weeping widow. And that's what I did. And when I did that, it shifted the dynamic of everything else I was doing. It shifted the leadership. It shifted the coaching. It shifted everything. So it opened the door for me to really go in and do another side of ministry outside of the 4 walls, because I was only used to the 4 walls. So it opened this door that I didn't just do it in the church, but I did it in the community. I do it in corporate settings where they have major losses and they need somebody to come in and talk to the company. And it's all centered around, and people say, well, how do you do that? It came from what God brought me through. And I don't take credit for it, because some of the stuff, I don't even know how I made it through it. It was just the grace of God. But to be able to give it to somebody else and see it work for them, see the doors open for them, talk about trauma, and you think you're dealing with trauma and this, and it goes back to so many other layers that you just kind of go, oh. And I always say God is strategic. He has been strategic in my life. From the sickness to the losses to whatever, it all has one thing has built on top of the other so that he can ultimately get the glory out of it. So I'm just grateful that in it all, I recognize the hand of God and I allow him to use every bit of me. I am one of those people that believes I don't want to leave the earth with nothing in me. You know, I say there's so much potential in the grave. I don't want that to be me. I want to pour it all out. I don't want nothing left. When I go, I don't want nothing left. I want you to have everything that was in me. I want to leave something in the earth that somebody else can build on, and not only build on, but live. So yeah, that's what it has done. It has truly transformed me, but I'm grateful to be able to see my trauma and my whatever transform other people.
That's awesome. Thank you. And how about you, Natasha? In what ways has your story influenced the purpose you now walk in?
I would say for me, it just trying to get the words together. How it influenced. I would just say my growth again, like I was stating earlier, that the healing is a process and also the growth. And just knowing that the things that I've experienced and went through, I've come across like so many people. Sometimes people will just walk up to me, just somewhere in the community, in a grocery store, and just started talking to me. And I used to always wonder, like, how do people just come up to me and start a conversation? and and find out they would just end up sharing stories with me, and they just engage in a conversation. And a lot of times we may have experienced similar um ex- experience similar things in life. And of course, I know that everybody deals with situations differently, and it can be similar situations. But knowing that, I feel like even in my, I would say in my profession, working with in the mental health field, a lot of times, even when I'm working with my clients, a lot of their situations are similar to the things that I'm going through. And as I was speaking earlier about how it's easy for me to motivate them and encourage them, oftentimes I have to sit and wonder, like, why can't I take the same um, advice or encouragement? But I realize, like, a lot of, I would say that I know it's God a lot of times putting me in these situations, placing me in these situations where we're going through similar things. So it helps me to see God in those situations as well. And I just know that I have purpose. Um, and my goal is always just to, I would say my heart's desire is always just to help other people. And that's kind of why, like, I'm in the field that I'm in now, and even in ministry, is I just want to be able to help people and show compassion and empathy and be supportive in any way that I possibly can be.
You do a great job because the kids at church love you. The impact that you make on their lives, is so amazing to see them, when they come up and they're out there on third Sundays, and you see that impact, the transformation in some of them that that were kind of quiet and didn't really say anything, and they're getting up and
Yeah.
they're praying, and you're like, how old are you? And it shows. It shows in them, and so that the work that you have done on yourself is demonstrated in the seed of the children that are being raised up. And so that is a powerful thing, again, because you have that empathy. You see them, and you see yourself.
Yes.
And you can see the difference that the words that you say make for them who may not even hear that at home.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Shanae, how about you, ma'am? How, in what ways does your story influence your purpose?
I think that for me, life kind of started over in 2025. So right now, I feel that I'm kind of walking in the word for me this year is alignment. And so you've said that multiple times in this conversation, and still, like, as I just walk, and it feels like a lot of the times I'm literally blindly trusting God. Like, I don't know where this next check is coming from. So God, please provide. I know you would. So it's just like within this, me even, I think in the conversation right before this, we talked about some of those roles and expectations that were put on us. And so for me, the expectation that I put on myself was like, oh, I'm going to be a professor. I'm going to be like a corporate professional, blah, 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 blah. And when I hated that outline, like when that outline wasn't for me, I panicked because what do you mean? This is what I've been preparing for. And so now I think that gave me now the opportunity to do what I want. Like I literally, you and I sat cackling for like a good 2 hours on the precast. And it was just good, pure, like soul cleansing conversation. And so the fact that that's what I do, not even knowing how it's going to make me money yet, but still knowing I'm having a good time and my days are secured and taken care of. I don't want for anything. Nobody is beating down my door about a bill.
Mm-hmm.
I am taken care of. And so I just enjoy the days that are in front of me. And I know that God, He pulled a check out of the sky. So I know that He's gonna, I'm gonna make it. Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, that I think the fact that people need to know who they are
Mhm.
and the purpose and your name. When I was like, given name podcast, what does that mean? But then when we started talking, when we had our actual show, yeah, I was telling my kids, I said we had this pre-call about when that was gonna be a good fit for her podcast, and we were on this thing. I said we were like, what time is it? I was like, oh my goodness.
Yes.
I don't know, it's like we became like friends and just in that moment. But then when we had the actual interview and we started talking about the purpose of your name,
Mhm.
Mhm.
why it's important for you to know who you are.
Mhm.
And so sometimes your name is tied to your purpose,
Yes, names
just like
mean
it
things.
was in the Bible,
Yeah.
it is today. And so it's important for us to get our identity back, whether it's reclaiming our name, how it was pronounced, how it was said, any of those things it can align with. And I think people need that lesson in, who am I? What is the meaning of my name? Excuse me. And then how do I walk out my name
Mhm.
Mm.
Mhm.
to make impact on someone else? And that purpose behind all of that. And so it's so important. It's Carmela, you. In what ways has your story influenced your purpose?
Live together. And when I say live together, I want to live so I can go get her. I've been through what I've been through. I know what it is that I have. I'm on the other side of the loss. I'm living, I'm alive. What does that look like? Well, what I've been through, someone's going to come along the way that I'm going to say the evidence, the proof that he still lives. And
Mhm.
because he lives, we can live.
Yeah.
So together to go get her, to get her. What that
Yeah.
looks like, sis, show up. Sis, you in the room. Sis, I see you. Sis, don't hide. Sis, come on. You got this. You can do this. I'm sitting here and I'm just smiling and gleaming and glowing because I'm between two doctors and me wanting to be. And you talked about Sister Shanae that your dissertation. I am my dissertation, and me being my dissertation, connecting the dots, understanding the purpose. What is my identity? What is the trauma? What is the purpose? And sis coming, Carmela, come in the comments. Say, I ain't got nothing to say to nobody because I got to get this dissertation written. And you know what? I ain't got time for nothing. But I keep hearing live.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
acquire things to have a life when the life has already been preordained. It's already been given to us. So when I show up in the room to help my sister, when I show up in the room to do what it is, I'm taking care of his business. So I know he gonna take care of my business. So for
Mhm.
me, that full circle to understand that to go get her, what that looks like. Sis, I see you. I see you trying to walk away. I see you trying. Don't hide. Because I need to hear your voice matters. What you say matters. What you feel, what you do, how you do it. Yes, you were in the hospital. Yes, you lost the car. Yes, the job was taken away. But guess what? You still here. Live the life that he has called you. He who has set you free is free indeed. So how do we do that? How do we do that? I come into the room with my sisters. I'm between two doctors, and guess what? I bet you I can call y'all right now. Y'all can say, Carmela, chill. You got this. You gonna finish it. I know it. I know it. But guess what? Again, I got to give myself permission. Am I gonna reach out? Or am I going to sit here and I'm going to wallow in what it, because we have the answer. What we're looking, I hear it and I promise you I'm going to stop because it's like you pushing me, you pushing me. But he who lose his soul, gain his soul. We got to give it away. We have what we have because we give it away. So yes, live to go get her. That's how it's full circle for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that, to get her. Together to get
That's
her.
good.
That was
Mhm.
so good. I was like, wow. That's why I had to write that down. I'm like, to get her. uh, yeah. So when we are together, we get her.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's good.
that is awesome. And that's what
Yeah,
we're
because
doing
somebody's
tonight.
looking at this. Somebody's going to look at it. And I think that all of us on this call represents what we've been through.
Mhm.
And if we can go through what we've been through, even if we don't even know what we had to go through, we still, I have this symposium, Soul to Soul, where we got to sit with this stuff. We got to sit in our stuff so we can understand what is the lessons that we have to be taught. So, sis, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for propelling me. I can now write a couple hours when I get off this call because I have some things that I need to say in that paper and that dissertation because I was at a writer's block. And I'm not ashamed to say this. I was at a writer's block because I didn't know I had what it is that I need to write this dissertation because guess what? Daddy's gone. Daddy's no longer here to push me. But daddy, my heavenly daddy is saying, you got this. Give yourself permission, give yourself grace, sit, take the time to do what you need to do, Carmela, because guess what? On the other side, you're going to be looking like, I did do it. Not because of me, but because I have been propelled to go get her. So thank you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yes, there's that motivation to do that, and we are helpers one of another.
Mhm.
And when we get to that space, and to the women that are listening to this, who are feeling stuck, who've been shaped by what they've been through, and they just don't know what to do, where to go. You've heard these wonderful ladies, share their story of of overcoming, but also to recognize that it is a journey.
Yes.
It's not a destination. Day by day, step by step. I
Mhm.
share on here all the time my favorite quote: "That the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step." And so to take that first step of recognizing you are not what you've been through. I love that, Carmela. If
Mhm.
you could share that piece on in the Facebook post under the podcast. You share that quote that you mentioned earlier. That you're not what you've been through. Your identity is not about what happened to you. Yes, it shaped you. Because all trauma does. It
Mhm.
transforms you. Whether it's physical, emotional. Whether you had surgery, whether you had a loss, you had all of these things. It shaped you. It shifted you in a moment. We know we've been shaken out of those things, and our original intent was perfection. And we know that sin and life and people's choices and all these different things, and sometimes even the choices we make, can sometimes shift us out of the place that we were meant to be. And so, if you're feeling stuck, I want you to look back and to listen, to recognize that, this is not the place where you need to stay. You don't have to sit here. You don't have to raise up a whole, tabernacle, a temple, whatever, build a house in the space of your pain. And if you have done that, it's time to move. You're being evicted tonight. If you have built a house in this space of pain, I'm giving you permission. I'm blocking you out, and
Mhm.
time to move and to step into that place of healing, and recognize that that's what God wants for you. He wants you healed. He wants you whole. He doesn't want you stuck in this space, not moving, because there is purpose. And so, to get her, we've come to get you, and to take you along with us on this journey of healing, that you do not have to stay here in this space. So, you are not your past, you are not your pain, and you are not what tried to define you. You are becoming, and becoming takes time. We said that before, it is a journey. It is not a destination, it is a journey. And so remind you of that healing is a journey. To take that step forward, it takes faith, it takes honesty. We got to be honest
Mhm.
with ourselves and recognize, you know, I am not in the space where I know I'm supposed to be. I have allowed, pain, my past, disappointment, discouragement, all these things to kind of pull me hostage, and I need to break free. Look at these faces and know that you have someone who has walked through difficult seasons, and have come through on the other side and is still walking through onto the other side. Again, it is a journey. And so, if any part of this conversation has resonated with you, we are here for you. We are here to let you know that your past does not have to define you. And so, if I'm going to ask this question, if you were no longer, and this is for my guests, but also for those who are watching, if I were no longer defined by what I've been through, how would I begin to see myself differently? And so think about that. If you were no longer defined by, what you've been through, how would you see yourself differently? And then look, so when you see that difference, write it down. So what would I look like?
Hmm.
What would I do differently? And then do the difference. Do the difference.
Mhm.
Say it,
Mhm.
don't just think it, do it. And so we always have, as we close, we always have a challenge. So I want you to choose one small step this week that reflects who you are becoming, not who you have been. And all small steps count. Dr. Shanae talking about celebrating those wins. You
Mhm.
know, you got out of bed today. Lift
Mhm.
your hands. I made a step. I made the phone call that I needed to make. I made a decision to say no.
Mhm.
And recognizing that no, I've said this before, no is a full sentence.
Yes.
You don't have
Yes.
to grab that. You don't have to explain why. If you have to let go of some stuff, some people, something, whatever it is that you need to do for yourself to
Mhm.
reclaim who you were meant to be, do it. Do it today. Don't put it off. It's not about tomorrow. You've got to start that step today. Because if you wait till tomorrow, you're going to change your mind. So, so do it now. Whatever that, and do it afraid, even if it's scary. You have all the contact of my guests and myself. You'll know how to reach me. Reach out and say, hey, I saw you on the Empower to Live podcast, and I'm struggling in whatever area. Dr. Shanae is having small groups coming up that she is offering. I don't know what the cost is. You can reach out to her and get connected in that way. Dr. Deanna, she's got grief and leadership and all these different things that's going on. You know, Natasha, she's a motivator and an encourager. She has the sweetest spirit. I love this. I love her.
Bless you.
Always that encourager. And so if you need some encouragement, that's someone you can reach out to. Carmela, same way. She's got the My Girls in RVA. Uh, she's always doing stuff to empower, to motivate, and encourage. And so if you want to, you can reach out to them. So if you need some encouragement to take that small step, do that. And we come to get you. And so we have come to get you. And that's like I'm loving that. We have come to get you, to move you into that place of recognizing that you are valuable, that you are loved beyond measure, and that and so you no longer have to be defined by what happened. You have a choice today, and I want you to choose yourself and choose to be empowered to live the life that God has called you to, and take that one step this week that's going to reflect who you're becoming. And so to I guess, thank you so much for being here. I'm so honored that you said yes to being, and that you are here, and I appreciate your honesty, your vulnerability, and your willingness to share. Thank you so much. Um, and to you listen, your story's not over. Your healing matters, and your purpose is still unfolding. You can make that choice. I see, when I started this, I was what? So I've been, this podcast has been almost 2 years. So, I was in the late 50s when I started this podcast. And so you're never too old
Mhm.
to begin again. You're never too
Yeah.
young to start, and you're never too old to begin again and to be transformed. So it is still unfolding. And so I just invited you to continue to watch. Next week, we'll have a new series that we are starting. I have to look at what my title is for next week. So, identity and becoming, from what shaped me to how and who I am becoming, is our new series that's going to start next week. So stay tuned for that. Same time at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 Yucatan Town. Um, will be here. Again, thank you all so much. And we take this time this week to reflect, to journal, and permit yourself to grow. And remember to stay empowered. And I will see you all next week. My wonderful guests, thank you all so, so much.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you for having us.
I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye,
Have a
y'all.
great night.
Right.
Right.